Hello and welcome to a drone space escalation guide for EVE Online. In this guide, I'm going to be showing you everything that you need to know to escalate drones' null security data sites. So during my third week playing EVE, I was fortunate enough to get a drone space data site to escalate, netting me a 350 million ISK blueprint copy. Unfortunately, being a noob, I then went and lost that being ganked in a relic site. However, had I managed to get that blueprint copy back, I would have garnered myself a tidy little profit for the budding newbro that I was at the time. I hope that for you, after watching this guide, you too can get lucky and escalate a drone's data site, whilst doing a better job of getting your loot back than I did. So in order to find drones data sites, you first need to get yourself out to the drones regions of nullsec. The best and easiest way for you to do this is probably going to be taking a Thera wormhole to somewhere near the drones regions. Most days in Thera you will be able to find a hole that will take you out to drone space, and on the rare occasion that you can't get one to take you directly there, you should at least be able to find one to take you somewhere near it. Now, if you're not familiar with using the Thera wormhole system to shortcut your routes through New Eden, what you need to do is go to the EVE Scout website. Here you can find the nearest entrance to the Thera system and the exit that will take you closest to where you want to go. And if you'd like to leave a small donation for using the service, our scouts always appreciate that. Now, when you are trying to get escalations, you do want to be trying to run as many sites as you can in as short a time as is possible, because obviously the more sites that you're able to run, the greater chance you will have of getting one to actually escalate. So we are going to be fitting with this in mind. Now, I do have two different fits for you here today, but you could also go and use the fits that I showed you in my ghost site guide. So if you haven't seen that, you're welcome to go and check that out. But when you do head to the drones regions, you will find the ghost sites out there as well. So using something that can run those sites will give you a greater variety of sites that you can run on your roam, which is always a nice thing. But the fit that I have for you here is obviously a T1 frigate fit, quite clearly for a Heron. Now, the general idea behind this fit is for us to be absolutely as slippery as possible and as survivable as possible for a T1 frigate. So I've gone ahead and put together a dual prop fit here, so two propulsion mods, the micro warp drive and the afterburner as well. Now, the general idea behind dual prop fits is that if we manage to get ourselves scrammed, and you can see we don't have any warp core stabilizers on the ship here, so if we do get scrammed, our micro warp drive is no longer going to function, but our afterburner will still work. So we can activate the afterburner and hopefully try and get outside of scram range before we're basically blapped out of the sky. Now, the maximum range that you're going to get on, like the very, very best dead space, millions and millions of ISK scram, the maximum range you're going to get on one of those is about 12.5 kilometers. So you don't really have to get that far away. And with having the dual shield extender as well, we're a little bit more tanky than we would normally be, so it is going to be possible in some situations for us to get outside of scram range and then warp away. We are also going to be moving at 1070 meters per second, so that is going to be possible for us there. So we do have there, you can see the compact micro warp drive. You'll have to use the compact micro warp drive to fit within the power grid amount. Then I've gone and put the monopropellant enduring afterburner. So this is one of the cheaper afterburners, but still with like quite a good velocity boost. So it's one of the faster afterburners basically. Now I have two shield extenders on here, two Republic Fleet shield extenders. So these are a faction extender, but that being said, they're not actually that expensive for a faction module. You're only looking at about 2 million ISK or a little bit under that in most trade hubs. So these are a very good option for a small shield extender. Basically they're the one that I'll use anytime I'm going to use a small shield extender. I also have a data analyzer on here. Now when you do head out to the drones regions, you won't find any relic sites out there whatsoever. So you're pretty much only going to need the data analyzer to run the drone sites. The only reason you might want to bring a relic analyzer with you is if you want to use that to run some ghost sites. So if the archaeology skill is your best skill for hacking and you really want to use the relic analyzer, in that case I would take a relic analyzer in my cargo bay along with a mobile depot and just refit into the relic if I did need it. Now in the low slots here I have two nanofiber internal structures, so these are going to decrease my inertia modifier and also increase my max velocity. So again, this is going to help us with staying out of trouble and with being as quick as we can, so that we potentially can get out of scram range or something like that, or just get through gate camps, that sort of thing. Now in the rigs here, you can see I've got a small ancillary current router. This is the Tech 2 version, and again with rigs you don't actually have to have the skill to fit the rig, so that's nice. So this the Tech 2 version, you will need to fit all of these mods within your power grid amount. You can see this is very, very tight on the power. We're using 90 or almost 99% of the power grid. So you will need this, and you will need power grid management to level 3, but that's not a very long train, it's only a few hours there. I've also got a small hyperspatial velocity optimizer on here. So this is the rig that increases our warp speed. Now the reason we want to increase our warp speed, for these sites they do tend to be a little bit spread out, so there is a bit of travelling involved, and as I said earlier, we want to run as many as we can as quickly as we can, so anything we can do to reduce our travel time is going to be a good thing. So therefore I've put the hyperspatial on there. Also, these are a scanning site, so they're a cosmic signature which you will have to scan down, so I've put a scanning rig on here. This will give us 15% increased probe strength, which is going to be nice. Also with that in mind, I've got Sisters core probes loaded into the Tech 1 launcher here. So I did think about putting a Sisters launcher on this, but despite the fact that this is a pretty survivable T1 frigate, still feel that a 30 million ISK module on this is probably not the best idea, so I have put the T1 launcher. But the scan probes, the Sisters scan probes, are not too expensive, so they do give us a bit of a bonus in probe strength there. Now actually, if you do want to see what your probe strength is, which is a question that players are going to ask you from time to time when they want to find out how good you are at scanning, or if they're just trying to help you scan a difficult site, they might ask you that question. So if you want to see that, hover over your loaded launcher here. The launcher has to be loaded, and click on the first eye icon, so show charge info. Go to your attributes tab, and you can see here the base sensor strength. So for me it's 86.7, so that's a fairly high scan strength. On the next fit that I'm going to show you, I've got about 105, that's in an Astero, but in this I'm about 86, so we will be able to scan those sites fairly quickly. I've also got an improved cloaking device on here. If you can't fit this, put a prototype on. A salvager, just to pick up any salvage we might find along the way. And I will also show you in my cargo bay. Now this is the basic sort of setup that I will carry in all of my ships, and so the general idea, what I've got in here, so I've got a mobile depot, a armor rep, and a hull rep. Now the general idea behind that is that I'm basically carrying a mobile station with me. So if I take some damage and I want to repair, I can drop my mobile depot, refit into armor rep and hull rep, and go and repair any damage that I've taken. So that's quite a nice thing if you're out in nullsec, you've got nowhere to dock, or if you're stuck in a wormhole or something and you've taken some damage, you can repair yourself that way. I also am carrying a scan range finding array, so this increases my probe strength even more. So if I had a site that I was having particular trouble scanning down and I get it to like 95% or something and I just want that little bit to push me over the edge, I can refit into this and hopefully then scan down that site. I do have a relic analyzer as well in case I want to run a relic site for whatever reason, and an expanded cargo hold just in case I do fill up my cargo bay with billions and billions of ISK of loot and I just don't want to drop any of it. I can go and put the cargo expander on there. Now I do have another fit to show you here. It's for an Astero, so this is the covert ops that I will be using. But if I could actually fly a T2 covert ops ship, I would definitely go ahead and use that over an Astero for these sites. Now the reason for that is that the base warp speed of an Astero is only 5, whereas for a Tech 2 covert ops you're looking at a base warp speed of 8. So that really moves a lot quicker, and like I said before, we want to move as quickly as we can between all of these sites, which do tend to be a little bit spread out. So 8 astrometric units as opposed to 5 is definitely going to get us around a bit quicker. But that being said, I'll show you my Astero fit here. So again, gravity capacitor upgrade, that's the probe strength. The hyperspatial for extra warp speed, low friction nozzle joint, which is just an agility mod, so that's going to give us decrease our inertia modifier or increase our agility. Now on this one I've gone and put all full Sisters gear, so the Sisters core probe launcher and Sisters probes, obviously a covert ops cloaking device. This is a covert ops ship. And this one is also dual prop fit, so we've got micro warp drive and afterburner, one shield extender, just the data analyzer again, and then I've got 2 warp core stabs and 2 nanofiber. So with this ship, if I take this out to run drone sites, I can also run the ghost sites that I might find out there too. And in here I've got pretty much the same sort of things in my cargo as my cargo bay as well that I had in my last ship. So I can drop the mobile depot and repair damage, and I've also got spare probes. So make sure you carry spare probes in all of your ships anytime you're taking a probe launcher, because you can actually sometimes lose a set, or it is also just a convenience thing. When you do launch your probes and you have a spare set in your cargo, your probe launcher will automatically reload for you. So those are the 2 fits that I've got for you here. So let's actually move on now to getting your escalations. Now before we can do anything, you obviously first need to find drone space. Drone space is located in what I'm going to call the northeastern cluster of the New Eden map. Now, whilst we could most certainly have an interesting discussion about directional relativity in space, we would be getting slightly off topic. So for simplicity's sake, let's say the drones regions can be found east of Geminate, northeast of the Great Wildlands, right in the heart of the Spire, Peregrine Falls, and the Outer Passage regions. Once you have navigated your way safely there, your hunt for data sites begins. Do not expect to find a data site in every system, but you won't find that they are overly sporadic. On average, you will likely find one site every 4 to 5 systems, mixed in with the countless combat sites and the occasional wormhole. Once you do manage to find a site and have successfully scanned it down, you can warp to it, where you will find 3 cans. 2 of these will be labelled as high security containment facilities, while the third will always be called research and development laboratories. The high security containment facilities are your easy hacks, while the research and development lab is a hard or red core hack. Whilst this is the hardest hack, this can is often empty. Although do always make sure you finish all of your hacks, as completing the site is what will trigger the escalation. So leaving an empty can unhacked is a very bad idea. Also keep in mind that the research lab will spawn drones rats if you fail the hack there. The rats are not at all deadly and you can tank them for hours in a T1 frigate. However, do make sure you bring some drones of your own. The basic T1 drones will be just fine, because if you don't clear the rats off of the can, you will not be able to re-attempt the hack, so do make sure you have some way of getting rid of them. Now, the drone sites themselves are not very profitable. In fact, I'd say they are by far and away the worst nullsec site in all of New Eden. Occasionally you can actually get a 10-run augmented drop from one of them that may sell for 20 to 50 million, but on the whole, you're predominantly going to be clearing a measly 2 to 4 million per site. So in terms of making ISK, the only worthwhile site for you here is the Escalation. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, getting a site to escalate can be mind-numbingly painful. On the one occasion I decided to try and grind for an escalation in the drones regions, I spent more than 8 hours over a weekend running the drone sites, not managing to escalate and getting less than 20 million for my troubles. However, each time that I have escalated a site, it's come at a time I was just there for fun and really not expecting anything. For making this video, I took the Heron out to drone space purely because I needed some more scenic shots for my video, and before I knew what was happening, I had escalated the second site that I ran. On another occasion, I took a random Thera hole to null, intending on running some ghost sites, only to find I had ended up in drone space. On a whim, I decided to run some drone sites, and the first one I did escalated for me. 10 minutes later, I was 1.5 billion ISK the richer. The escalations, like any other escalated site, will appear in your journal under the Expeditions tab. You can set your destination from here and travel to the site. Once you arrive there, you can warp straight into site, again using the Expedition tab from your journal. This site won't appear for any players other than yourself, so you are fairly safe once you arrive there. The only way somebody is going to catch you is by scanning you down with combat probes, so just keep an eye on your D-scan and you will be fine. The site runs exactly like these standard drone sites. There are 3 cans, all named the same as the cans you will find in their standard cousins. Simply warp into site, hack the cans, and walk away whistling merrily, with your pockets hopefully being billions of ISK heavier. The best loot you will get from the sites will come in the form of blueprints. These can be sold through contracts at a trade hub, or if you have the skills or an industry alt like myself, you can run them for yourself, making even more ISK. Now, I have been very fortunate running drone sites, and I'd say they'd come close to being some of the most profitable sites that I have run. Altogether, I've made over 3.5 billion from these sites in the 2 and a bit months that I have been playing. Whilst this may not be a lot to the big dogs of New Eden, for a new player like myself, it is a small fortune. Making my way back to safety in my little Heron, I was carrying more than 150 times my ship's worth. However, like I said, on the whole, the escalations can be tough to come by, and if you head out with the sole purpose of escalating sites, you'll likely return disappointed. Many of my courtmates who've run these sites have not been as lucky as I have, so there certainly is a random element to all of this. But if you do decide to try your luck in drone space, don't go with your ISK per hour on your mind. Instead, head off into these truly majestic regions of space and relish the eerie beauty of some of Eve's most brilliantly beautiful sights. And as they say, if RNGesus does smile on you and you get that escalation, it will be an unexpected and truly satisfying bonus. I hope this guide has been helpful to you, and I wish you luck in your intergalactic adventures. If you have questions about drones escalations, you can leave a comment here. Or the next time you're in space, maybe you'll contact Captain Ace Rico. Until then, I sincerely hope you are successful in your escalation attempts. Keep your eyes on the skies, and as always, fly dangerous.